Good morning, everybody. So this is Dr. Richa Dwivedi from ZenOnco.io and Love Heals Cancer. Today's session is about creating awareness around cancer. Let me first introduce you to ZenOnco.io and Love Heals Cancer. We guide cancer patients in their journey with cancer. We provide them an integrative oncology approach by improving their lifestyle, which includes both complementary as well as medical treatments. We provide end-to-end care to patients and also help them with their counseling sessions, pain and palliative care, the medical cannabis, their physical sessions, and everything that is required by a patient. So for today's awareness session, we are joined by Dr. Sandeep Nayak, the pioneer who introduced robotic and laparoscopic oncosurgery in India. Thank you, sir, for taking time out and joining us for this session today.
Thanks for having me. And, it's good to know that, you are integrating a lot of things into a program. Very often I think, many patients require it because, cancer is a difficult issue for many people. When they have it, they need to get a solution which is, wholesome solution. So I think you are attempting to do that. So, I wish you the best for that.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Let me take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Sandeep Nayak. So he completed his MBBS from Kasturba Medical College. He went on to pursue his master's in general surgery from Grant Medical College, Calicut. Then he pursued his doctoral in surgical oncology from the prestigious Chittaranjan Cancer National Institute in Calcutta. Apart from this, he also has a fellowship in laparoscopic and robotic oncosurgery. He's been a part of numerous publications. He's also an awardee of many accolades throughout his career, which expands nearly 20 years. So in this career, he's saved lives of many. Once again, sir, it's an honor to have you with us. Is there anything you would want to say before we begin with the Q&A session for today?
Thank you, Richa, for such an introduction. I think it's much hype than this one. So there are, so it's a simple career and, done a few things in life. That's all it is. Go on. Yeah.
Okay. So, sir, before we get into the medical terminologies and everything about cancer, I mean, what prompted you to take medicine and why specifically surgical oncology? Do we have a story behind it?
See, medicine was just a passion. When you take up medicine, you don't know. It's just that, you have things in your mind. You have few options. Those days, the options were very limited. So took it up. But then as I realized, I am more inclined towards art. So that I realized that, surgery is a form of art. So I was inclined to take surgery at that time. So took it up. And when I went on with surgery, I realized, something which gives a broader perspective of surgical skills is oncology, because it's highly skill oriented. It's something like, anything, anywhere which goes wrong, one of the first fields to be called in is oncologist, usually surgical oncologist, because we do very complex work. So that's how, I took it up. It is just that, I wanted it to be a very broad specialty. At the same time, I wanted it to be very, very specialized also. So in fact, that balance is given only in surgical oncology.
Right. So, sir, but then as you've specialized in robotic and laparoscopic surgeries, I mean, could you help us understand how a conventional surgery, a laparoscopic surgery and robotic surgeries are different from each other?
See, conventionally, or what happens in surgery is we put a big wound wherever we have to do the surgery. We open up fully,
right,
so that we expose that area which is affected and remove the cancer tissues or cancer organ. So the question was, over the time, as the technology improved, can we deliver the same type of surgery by doing laparoscopy? Laparoscopy means using smaller incisions, small wounds. And that is how that thing developed. Laparoscopy actually came into existence in the 80s, 1980s. But as it went on, the technology grew, the quality of vision grew, and gradually it started coming into the oncology also. So that is where the concept of doing bigger surgeries with smaller wounds came into existence. But there were a few problems with laparoscopy as well, in the sense that most of the cancer surgeries and most of the complex surgeries can be done laparoscopically. Not that it cannot be, it can be done very well, but there are some areas of the body which are very narrow to operate, very small spaces. So in those areas, or where there are complex suturing, stitching work required, in those areas the laparoscopy had some difficulties, because these are straight instruments. So that is where the thing started changing, and a newer technology called robotic surgery came into existence. So robotic surgery is just an advanced form of laparoscopic surgery, nothing else.
Okay,
So that is where you have the facility to work in very narrow spaces. We can stitch. So these things are the advantages of that.
Okay, so is it like, in a way, robotic was brought in to overcome the limitations of laparoscopic surgery?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Wherever it is required, yes.
Okay, but then are there any risks associated with this surgery? I mean,
risk associated with surgery, which one are you
with
talking about?
the laparoscopic and the robotic surgeries? I mean, I guess risks are associated with every surgery, but do these reduce?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, it is reduced with robotic and laparoscopic surgery compared to open surgery, because the complication rates are less and the side effects are less. But remember one thing, any technology is dependent on the operator.
True.
See, at the end of the day, with the is an aeroplane safe? It is safe provided the pilot knows how to drive it or fly it. It's as good as that. So it is. It all depends on who's driving it, whichever surgery it is, open, laparoscopic, or robotic. It is the person's comfort of doing it is what matters.
All right. But then, sir, do you come across patients like who are reluctant to undergo these laparoscopic and robotic surgeries? I mean, how do you like convince them? Or
I don't try to convince anybody. I have a very clear policy. See, if a patient comes to me, they have to come to me for that particular purpose. So they should know what they are coming for. In fact, I only tell them about the disease and the specifics of that particular thing. I don't really try to tell anybody, go for this or go for that. I give them the options. See, it is like I always say to my patients this, see, when you want to go from, say, Bangalore to Mumbai, you can go by bus, you can go by train, you can go by flight. See, these are the options which are available to you. The way you choose is based on multiple factors. So the options of open, laparoscopic, robotic surgery is the same. Similarly, we have to choose. So for something may be better. For some things may be this thing. So it is the person who's offering you that should tell you what it is. They're not in absolute. There have to be, there's a lot of ifs and buts in that. So in fact, I'll tell you the other side of it. Patients who come to me always come to me for either laparoscopic or robotic. So it is usually my job is to see whether this patient really requires a robotic or laparoscopic surgery and counsel them what is right for them. So there are times when patients with breast cancer come to me and say, robotic surgery. But there is no good role for robotic surgery in breast cancer. So I usually tell them that, see, there is no role for in this particular case. So it is this is what you require in this case. So my job is not to push for robotic or laparoscopic. My job is to tell the patient what is right for them. That's how it is.
Okay. So, sir, like you pointed out, robotic is not something which can be done for a breast cancer patient. So, can you help us understand what are the indications like for a laparoscopic and a robotic surgery?
See, in simple words, anything that can be done with open surgery can be done with robotic or laparoscopic. There is no doubt about that. But see, there are some areas, for example, if you talk about something very superficial, breast is a superficial organ. Right. So there are breast surgeries which are done robotically also. There are reconstructions which we can do robotically. There are some segments. But there are some surgeries, for example, if some tumor is sitting in the abdominal wall, there's no scope for robotic over there. It's open. You are removing the tumor directly from the abdominal wall. So a tumor which is seated deeper, the benefits are more when we do laparoscopically or robotically. So deep-seated ones, like intestine, the stomach, the lungs, the tumors associated with rectum. And there are things like neck surgeries where the thyroid surgery is involved, where neck lymph node dissection is involved. These areas are the things where we can do, or there is definite utility for robotic and laparoscopic surgery. Even for the diseases of cancers of the throat, some cancers of the throat, we can do a robotic surgery, what is called as TORS, transoral robotic surgery, wherein instead of cutting open the face totally, we can just do the entire surgery from the mouth itself. So these are the ways. There are many things, but the choice again between robotic and laparoscopic surgery comes. I am very choosy when I do robotic because cost is involved. So generally, where laparoscopic can give you the same results as robotic, I prefer to do laparoscopic. I don't opt for robotic. So that is how it is done. So that is my practice. Okay, there are people who don't know how to do laparoscopic surgery, so they prefer to do robotic only. There are doctors also like that. So it depends on person to person, variation will be there.
Okay. So, sir, while I was doing my research on you, I came across this technique known as minimally invasive neck dissections that you do. So how do those differ from your conventional head and neck surgeries?
See, neck surgeries, most of the head and neck cancers require what is called as neck lymph node dissection, where you remove the lymph nodes in the neck. So now when that is done, the usual surgery requires a wound in front of the neck. So basically a big cut in the neck, in front of the neck, is required. Now, in minimally invasive, what we do is we put very small wounds below the collarbone here in the neck, this one, just below the collarbone we remove everything from the neck through those 3 holes, 3 or 4 small holes, and do the same surgery. Surgery is same. Whatever is done in the open surgery is same. Only thing is the wound is not there. So the recovery time, there's no wound related problems. The recovery is much faster. So that is the difference between open and minimally invasive. So this minimally invasive we do with routine laparoscopic instruments also. We can do it with robotic instruments also. The advantage of robotic is, again, because it's a very narrow space, there is a wrist-like movement for robotic instruments. So in a narrow space, you can do much better work when it is robotic. So that is how we decide. So in fact, we are working on publishing our data on our robotic work also very soon. It will come out.
Okay. Sir, and then there's also this technique known as rabbit, which you've invented. I mean, so can you put some light on that also for us?
See, again, thyroid is thyroid is in the neck, in front of the neck. Yes. And thyroid nodules, thyroid cancers are most common among young people. It's a disease of young. In fact, very few people you find in the older age group. Okay, so right now I have for the next week I have at least 3 or 4 patients. Youngest one is 17-year-old with thyroid cancer, and that is the age group when it comes, and they do very well when younger the patient, better they do in thyroid cancer. in papillary carcinoma thyroid. There are many types, but most common is papillary carcinoma thyroid. Now, in these patients, these young patients, I don't think any of them want any scar in front of the neck, because they have to live with it for life. So this technique, in fact, other technique which was there are 2-3 robotic techniques in the world. One of them is devised by a surgeon in Korea. Two of them are devised by Korean surgeons. And this technique which I am doing is my technique which I did over these past few years, wherein we put very small incisions in over the or below in the armpit and all that, and we go and remove the thyroid completely. And the advantage which we saw was this technique what I do is very easy for many surgeons to do. If they have a robo, they don't need specialized equipment and all those things. So they are able to copy it, and they come to me and learn, see the surgeries and go, and they are able to do it by themselves. So this is the advantage of this particular technique. Hardly any scar. If you see any of my patients, you can't even make out we have done anything. So in fact, there are times when we do extensive lymph node dissection for the thyroid with everything, by this robotic technique, rabbit plus robotic neck dissection, what we do. So this is what the advantage is. But over the years, what we have realized is, see, with robo, it is not just that there is no scar. The magnification which it gives, the precision which is there, and the quality of vision which it gives is much better. This over the years I have been doing this robotic rabbit technique for thyroid. When I do in between, I do open surgeries for some patients because they for some reason, for financial reasons or something, they don't opt for robotic. That time I really realized the advantage which the robotic surgery gives, because you are seeing the entire organ blown up in front of you in a big screen. You are sitting right in front of it. So, and you have many visual modes where you can change, you can inject something, see the various structures. So that advantage is not there with open surgery. So many of us who have devised these techniques, newer techniques, like some surgeons, me and some surgeons were in Korea, when we discuss, we always believe that robotic surgery is not just for avoiding scar, it is also for the quality of vision and the quality of surgical work that we do. So that's how it is.
Okay. But sir, like we've heard how, after a few years, there's a relapse which occurs usually in cancer patients. So are like the risk of a relapse also reduced due to robotic and laparoscopic surgeries, or there's no correlation between them?
There should not be a correlation between the two, because the work which is done is supposed to be the same work. But see, having said that, there are research papers which have shown that minimally invasive surgery, which is laparoscopic and robotic surgery, is superior to open surgery in many areas, like in the rectum and in the esophagus. There is some advantage, survival advantage for the patient, a small amount of survival advantage. Otherwise, the disease-wise, the cancer-wise, the two are supposed to be absolutely equal. That is why it is done. See, it is the question of, see, I told you the example, Bangalore to Mumbai, the destination is same. Okay, so our destination is the cancer related result. So the destination is same. Now your core of the question is about this, recurrences. Recurrences in cancer are dependent on the disease biology is one, means how the cancer is, how aggressive that particular cancer is, because all the cancers are not same. They differ from one another. So that is one. Second factor is how good the patient is to fight the cancer. Okay, because it's a fight between the cancer and the patient which really gives the results at the end of the day. Third is the treatment factor. Okay, so treatment factor means here where what is the treatment which is given, the surgical quality, the quality of chemotherapy, quality of radiation, or any other thing. Is it good enough? So these are the three factors which really make a difference to the outcome of cancer. So anything of this can go wrong, and you can end up with a recurrence. But in most of the cancers which are not stage 4, the intention of treatment is cure. You have to understand. So recurrences are not the norm. It can happen, but when you start the treatment, your intention is not that it will recur. It is that it should not recur. It can recur. The recurrence is based on all these factors.
Okay. All right. But sir, like we've heard how sometimes surgeons have to operate, for 12 hours continuously, or maybe for even longer. So have these advancements in surgeries cut down the long durations?
Yes, because the things have changed over the years. There are two things which have happened. One, the technology has improved for surgeons, so it makes it more comfortable to operate, and reduce the operating time. But see, laparoscopic and robotic surgery in the initial period may not reduce the operating time. Okay, it may in fact increase the operating time for many surgeons, because initially learning curve is there. But having said that, there was a time when anesthesia was dangerous, because the technology and the knowledge of anesthesia was not very robust at that time. But as of today, our anesthesia teams in most of the centers, most of the major centers, can maintain anesthesia for very long time, very safely for the patient. Very safely, in fact. So nowadays we don't think in terms of the duration of surgery, unless there is some other problem with the patient. Otherwise anesthesia is same, whether it's 12 hours, 13 hours, patients will tolerate good quality anesthesia for that duration. It is possible to maintain. So the focus is on the quality of work today. It is not on the time duration, because there was a time when anesthesia was absolutely unsafe, or anesthesia did not exist. At that time, speed was more important. Today, speed is not at all important. It is the quality of work.
Right. So, sir, while I was going through your profile, I came across the number of awards and achievements that you have. I mean, is there anything more that you aspire to achieve in life now?
And nothing specific. I don't have any such desires. Whatever comes my way, it will come. That's all.
Okay. And sir, what would, before we conclude for today's session, what would be your message to the budding oncologists and students who must be viewing today's interview?
Well, the most important message I have always felt is, or I have followed, is to be, honest and to be ethical in what you do. See, these things are at the end of the day very, very, subjective things. There is nothing like, in ethics and in honesty, there is no absolute. So at the end of the day, how I would put it is, do what you would do to yourself when another person or another person comes to you. So if I would not do what I do to another person or my own family member, then I shouldn't be offering it to anybody. So if you can manage that and be honest to yourself and be ethical in what you do, there's nothing more to it. That's what you would be. And I feel personally, this is what has been the reason for my success so far, because I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. I know that what I'm doing is right, and I would do it for myself if the need comes. So that's all is what I would suggest if it's a young oncologist. And because people tend to look at how do I grow very fast, very rapidly. So that doesn't work in life. There are you need to climb each step. You cannot jump the steps and reach the top. It's impossible to do it. So that's the message which I would like to give to oncologists, if you ask me.
I think that was a very powerful message, sir. So I think we can conclude today's session, sir. It was a very informative session. I'm sure a lot of doubts of our viewers must have been cleared from today's session. And once again, I would like to thank you for taking time out from your busy schedule and joining us for today's session.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. It was an honor to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.